How mad are you? More constructively, how much work do you need to put in to stay sane in today's world? In my experience, there's 4 different levels of this. So let's find out which level of mental you are. First to credit, there's a good therapist called Scott Elias, I think it's pronounced, who was on Williamson, and he said, sometimes staying sane feels like a part-time job. I thought this was a great framing. He's basically saying, like, look, I accept that I have to put in a certain amount of work, given the state of the world and my brain and my genetics and all that, to stay relatively sane, to not be depressed or anxious or addicted or whatever the thing you suffer from is. I love this frame. And over the years, I've realized that sometimes I need to do this much work, sometimes this much work, sometimes a lot of work. I've boiled it down to 4 categories. And this is somewhat artificial, but it will give you a tool to think with. It's really simple, and that's helpful. As a coach working with people, I'm often thinking, all right, which category are they in? I'm going to have to recommend a different level of work for them to do. Also, up front, let's get real. This is fucking life and death. If you don't put in the right amount of work, how can I put this for YouTube? You might well do something you shouldn't. So there's literally nothing more important than this question. Because if you're going to, I don't know, find a great wife, have a great career, be spiritually amazing, you need to be alive. And statistically, the most dangerous thing for young men today is themselves. So this is serious shit. Let's get it right. Okay, so we're going to try and figure out which of 4 categories we're in. So there's a group of people who are sort of independently psychologically wealthy. I call those people cunts. I've never been one. I've been one of the other 3, but I've never been one of them. If that's you, why are you watching this video? Go enjoy your life. Now, there's other people that need a side hustle. You might be looking at a little bit of work every day, let's say 10 hours a week. For other people, it's more of a part-time job, more like 20 hours a week. And you might say, God, that isn't fair. I should put in all this time. That doesn't help. You might say, well, it's the world. The world's crazy. Yeah, you're right. Like, we shouldn't have to put in all this work. The world is sending us crazy. The nature of modernity and post-modernity is completely ridiculous. And it is where we're at. So let's start there. Last group of people, more like 40 hours a week, it's got to be their sole focus. There's some dangers to thinking you're in that group, which I'll come to. Okay, so we're basically looking at a combination of 3 factors. I think most psychologists would agree with this. I've never heard it put this simply before. In reality, obviously, it's more complicated, but the 3 basic factors. Genetics, yeah? My family's full of crazy people. There's lots of depressed people, neuroatypicality. There's a schizophrenic, manic depressive. There's been multiple people with depression, multiple suicides. I clearly have shitty genetics. You may also have shitty genetics, or you may be gifted, or you may be blessed. Some people just wake up happy. Fuck those people. Second one, early childhood experience. So trauma leaves an impact on people. I've interviewed most of the world's top trauma teachers, people like Gabor Mate, Peter Levine. Well worth a look. This can leave a lasting impact on our nervous systems, vulnerability, and mental health. Now, it's not totally simple because if you work through it, there's things that you can do to heal trauma like EMDR or somatic experiencing. You can actually get to post-traumatic growth. So what we're looking at here is shitty, unprocessed early childhood experience. I had an alcoholic dad. Maybe you were abused by a hamster. I don't fucking know. It's different for different people. Third factor is your situation now. Okay, this is economic situation, environmental situation. The sun's not shining. I'm depressed. It's quite a nice place, actually, where I live. Relationship situation, friends you have around you. I think this is, it's a major factor. Often people are looking at just like thinking patterns. And that's great. It's important to look at how you're thinking, like CBT and stuff, but it's not the major one. If you're like biological situation, like right now, are you hungry? You might be in a bad mood. Are you exercising regularly? Are you getting enough sleep? I put all of that into current situation. Okay, so you've got 3 factors and 4 categories. How are we going to work it out? If you have none of those bad, just you know what bad is, fucked up. If you have none of those bad, you're probably in the sort of independently psychologically wealthy category. Good for you. If you have one of those things, not great. So maybe, I don't know, like me, I have rubbish genetics, but I know my childhood trauma stuff's pretty treated at this point. So like, I'm not going to count that one. And my general situation now is reasonable. There's things I would like more of, like a bit more community. But there's a church I go to that's great. I've got a great girlfriend. I've got enough money, pleasant environment where I live. It's not bad. So I'm probably going to be in that category. I just have that one thing. That gives me about, let's say, 10 hours a week, right? What does that look like? It might look like exercise, it might look like meditation, it might look like therapy, it might look like spiritual practice. I think your big food groups are basically embodied practice, community practice, nature connection, and God connection. So you need to self regulate, co regulate, eco regulate, and theo regulate. 10 hours a week would be like a minimum. Now, the trick here is not to be thinking, oh, it's a chore, I hate doing it. I like those things. If you can find ways to enjoy those things, I'm going to be hitting way above those 10 hours. And then if I'm not self assessing well, it doesn't really matter. But I like going to the gym. I like going to church. I like having sex with my girlfriend. Is that weird? Is that weird? No, I think it's normal. I like, I don't know, chilling out with my friend Danny is coming over this weekend. I like going for a walk by the seafront and looking at the fishes, and there's a bird that does a dive. It's great. It's great. Okay, so because I enjoy those things, I'm hitting way more than 10 hours, but 10 is the minimum. Okay, the next group of people. So I'm in the side hustle category, right? Mental health is a side hustle, but I enjoy it, so I put way more work in. Like a lot of side hustles, like I make a YouTube channel. It's not my main job, but I like it, so I put work in. Next category is like part-time job. And this is where you go, okay, I really need to prioritize. This is not a hobby I can squeeze around my life. I have to really think to get 20 hours a week in. So times in my life I've been in a difficult situation. Maybe, I don't know, when my dad died, there's grief, or something's got its hooks in me, kind of an addiction or whatever. So two of the factors. So it might be genetics, it might be current situation. Maybe it's genetics plus untreated childhood trauma. In this situation, you're hitting 2 out of 3, right? 2 out of 3 is bad. Meatloaf, you're wrong. Okay, so while it is bad, it's not unmanageable with a job and a relationship. You can just about do 20 hours a week. It's like an extra part-time job, but you're going to have to work. You're going to have to work hard. And I think that's okay, right? I think the key thing is to embrace and accept that, particularly as when you say to yourself, yeah, it's not just a chore. There's things I can learn to love. I'm going to develop some superpowers, we call them, through this. Your weirdness will make you wonderful. These are things that you'll develop. Like my entire career is because I had to put in loads of work on therapy and doing martial arts and meditating. Like this is what has got me the pretty cool life I have now. So you can look at it through that lens rather than resentment. What I like about the frame of a part-time job is you say, I take this seriously. I think having non-negotiables, like I meditate in the morning, I always have social time every week. If you can get it to a few non-negotiables, it sounds like it's not, you can't do all the things, right? There's someone says, eat this, do that, meditate, do this. But so, all right, what are like 4 or 5 things that are non-negotiable to do every day or every week? Write them down, stick them on your wall, check your diary every week. So you have like a mental health spot in your diary where you go, right, how am I taking care of myself? Am I doing my fucking job? Yeah, take it that seriously. If you're not sure about the minimal hours you should be putting in, experiment. Do a little bit less, do a little bit more, experiment on yourself and go, do I feel better? Assess it. And sometimes you have to do things for a few weeks and go, is this working? Do I need to do aerobic exercise or anaerobic exercise? Bit of both, I'd recommend. Do I need to get outside once a week or every day? I'd recommend every day, but don't believe me. I'm just a bloke with his own culture and genetics and blah, blah, blah. Find out for yourself. Do an experiment and say, do I feel better when I do this? If I reduce, I don't know, nature connection from every day to every week or twice a week, has that made a difference to me? Just fucking be honest with yourself. That's the secret. And again, you can't do everything. Every meditation, every supplement, every psychological, you can't do it all. So do something solidly, put in the hours, and then look at the feedback from that. Do you subjectively feel better? Intersubjectively, do people say, oh, you look good. Oh, it's nice being around you. You've got a good vibe. And objectively, are you able to do your work more? Are you dressing better? All the objective factors that feedback. So a self-assessment regularly, but using those 3 things. Okay, last of all, the full-time job, the sort of 40 hours a week. This is usually if all 3 of those things are bad. Bad genetics, bad childhood trauma, bad situation. Usually this is a temporary thing. 1, because of childhood trauma you can look at. 2, because situations you can improve. Genetics, can't do much about that one. Okay, unless you're Buddhist, then you get like reborn, but I'm not a Buddhist. Now, 40 hours a week is a lot. So it generally means you're going to have to either be not employed full-time elsewhere or not in a relationship. Like think about 2 full-time jobs. You ain't going to have much time for socializing left after that. So I would say this is like an emergency situation. It also shouldn't be long-term, right? Now, if you are in that situation where it's long-term, you're probably not improving your situation or dealing with your childhood trauma. Some people are just very unlucky with this, though, and they do need to accept this is what it is for them. And that can limit their life. For short periods of time, most of us can get in this situation at times. A good example of this is rehab. 90 days in rehab is typical. You have 90 days where you just have to get sober. That is your main focus in life. If you are really up against it, if you're thinking of self-ending, for example, this is your priority. You make it your full-time job. You say, making money can wait because I'm fucking dead. I can't make money. Girls can wait because I'm dead. I can't fucking get girls. So sometimes this becomes your priority. I'd say short periods of time to turn it around, say a season of your life. When I got sober, for example, that was just what I was focused on for a good couple of months. Now, the danger is if you cut everything else out, then you actually make your situation worse. Right? A lot of guys, their meaning comes from their job or their girlfriend's supportive, so you've got to be a little bit careful with this. And I've also seen there's a sort of narcissistic trap where people go, I'm just working on myself. I'm not being of service. I'm not doing anything in the world. I'm just working on myself. And it's no good either. So if long term you're just constantly working on yourself like a full-time job or more, you might want to ask, you know what, do I actually just want to be of service to the world? Do I want to put my focus elsewhere? If you're anything like me, your brain is not your best friend. I find, for example, when I was burnt out and depressed, I'd go online and start teaching. I'd be like Yoda coming on to, do the fight. And as soon as I'd be teaching, I'd be energized. I'd be focused on other people. I wasn't bouncing about my own brain. That can be a way out. So I want to be careful of there. Okay, so in summary, if you're anything like me, take it seriously. Say it's either a side hustle or a part-time job, sometimes a full-time job. Dedicate yourself to that. Do that without resentment. Run experiments on yourself. Shit can get better.